However, early colonial archaeologists dismissed the idea that indigenous Africans could have built such sophisticated structures. Instead, they promoted false narratives, attributing the ruins to ancient foreigners like the Phoenicians or the biblical Queen of Sheba. These erroneous claims reflected racial prejudices of the time, diminishing the achievements of the people who actually built Great Zimbabwe. Perched on the high savannas of southeastern Africa, the Great Zimbabwe Ruins showcase the skill, inventiveness, and opulence of an ancient African civilization. These majestic stone structures, built between the 11th and 15th centuries, once served as the political and economic center of the Kingdom of Zimbabwe. Today, they tell tales of power, trade, and a thriving culture that rivals the world's most illustrious civilizations. The name Zimbabwe means house of stone in the Shona language, an apt description of this marvelous site. Without the use of mortar or cement, the people of this land crafted massive stone walls that rise to 11 meters high and span 250 meters in length. These structures, built using granite blocks meticulously quarried and fit together, defy the limits of Gothic engineering. The precision of their workmanship reveals not only a masterful command of stone construction, but also an unwavering dedication to their vision. At the heart of the ruins lies the hill complex, believed to be the spiritual center of the kingdom. Here, among natural rock formations and carefully placed walls, the rulers of Zimbabwe connected with their gods and ancestors. The hill complex's strategic elevation provided commanding views of surrounding landscape, symbolizing both spiritual ascendance and political dominance. The archaeological remains of ceremonial objects and offerings discovered here point to its sacred role in the lives of its people. Descending from the hill complex, one encounters the imposing Great Enclosure, a monument of unequaled beauty and intrigue. This oval-shaped structure, the largest single stone architecture south of the Sahara, leaves visitors awestruck. Its massive outer wall encloses a smaller inner wall, forming a labyrinth of passages that lead to the towering conical tower at its center. The purpose of the tower remains shrouded in mystery, but its elegant design and imposing presence suggest it was more than a symbol of authority, perhaps a spiritual beacon or a marker of unity for the kingdom. The ruins were not isolated from the outside world. Indeed, the Kingdom of Zimbabwe was a thriving hub in an extensive trade network that spanned across Africa and beyond. Archaeological discoveries of Chinese porcelain, Arabian glass, and Persian ceramics within the ruins demonstrate its role as a trade powerhouse connecting Africa to the Indian Ocean trade routes. The kingdom exported gold, ivory, and iron to distant lands, filling its coffers and enriching its culture with foreign influences. Interestingly, the people of Great Zimbabwe were not only masters of architecture and trade, but also of agriculture and craftsmanship. Surrounding the ruins were extensive terraced fields and complex irrigation systems, evidence of an agrarian society that sustained the thousands who lived within and around the city. Skilled artisans created exquisite beads, iron tools, and ornaments, many of which served as trade goods or symbols of status and power. But, as with many great civilizations, the Kingdom of Zimbabwe eventually declined. By the 15th century, the site had been abandoned, its once thriving population dispersed. Scholars believe that a combination of factors led to its fall. Environmental pressures such as deforestation and soil degradation, political fragmentation, and the shifting dynamics of trade routes. Yet, even as the kingdom's influence waned, its legacy endured. The great ruins of Zimbabwe were rediscovered by Europeans in the late 19th century, and their majesty soon captured the world's imagination. However, early colonial archaeologists dismissed the idea that indigenous Africans could have built such sophisticated structures. Instead, they promoted false narratives, attributing the ruins to ancient foreigners like Phoenicians or the biblical Queen of Sheba. These erroneous claims reflected racial prejudices of the time, diminishing the achievements of the people who actually built Great Zimbabwe. Today, the Great Zimbabwe Ruins stand as a symbol of African pride and heritage. Modern research has firmly established that the monuments were the work of the Shona people, whose descendants still live in the region. The site was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1986, recognizing its universal value as a cultural treasure. Visiting the ruins is like stepping back in time into a world where stone walls whisper of kings and queens, of trade and worship, of a society that rose to greatness and left an indelible mark on history. The play of light and shadow on the weathered granite blocks, the silence of the open plains broken only by the wind, and the majesty of the ruins against the African sky evoke a sense of wonder and awe. The Great Zimbabwe Ruins are more than just a monument. They are a celebration of human potential and the enduring spirit of Africa. They remind us that long before colonial powers mapped the continent, Africa was home to thriving civilizations that left an undeniable legacy. And as you walk through the passages of the great enclosure, climb the rocky heights of the hill complex, or gaze upon the conical tower, you cannot help but feel the weight of history and the echoes of a time when the Kingdom of Zimbabwe ruled the land. In the great ruins of Zimbabwe, the stones speak. They speak of a people who mastered their environment, connected with the wider world, and built a legacy that still inspires generations.